Paul, Councillor Williams. So I declare our meeting open. I have any apologies? It will be finished this part by then, hopefully, Councillor Bryan. Any conflicts of interest? We come to confirmation of minutes. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Williams. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Item 4, we come to that 4.1, which is selection of projects and funding arrangements for 3 water stimulus. Mr. Cleary.
Thank you. I'll hopefully be joined by Colin and Kelly. Look, this report, I don't intend to go through all of the projects in detail, but I will give you an overview of this report. The purpose of the report is to gain approval from the council to effectively lock in the projects that are to receive the stimulus funding, to sign the funding agreement, and to authorise submission of the delivery plan. So this, as you'll be aware, the government offered as part of a package to try and stimulate the economy following the COVID-19 event. They have made this money available to councils, and then they've tied it in with the signing of the 3 waters. So you've previously given authorisation to sign the MOU, which effectively unlocked this funding. So now I've outlined the primary purpose of it. This is to get those projects locked in, but it does actually also set us off on a path for the next steps of the project, and it's probably worth me talking through those. The key thing is to try and get a effectively agreement in principle in terms of the project scope. So we're talking about what the projects are, but that actually does include the scope and the indicative budget for those projects. And an example of that is the step systems for Tuahiwi and Fernside. So the scope of the project in those examples is the proposal to replace the step system with pressurised pumps. And that the final details of that will be subject to consultation. So we will have an opportunity to consult with those communities, but it's effectively what we're saying to the government at this stage in terms of what we're planning for that project. In terms of the funding, this does again set us on a path of the general funding principles. We will be bringing a future report to the council, so we'll be giving a briefing in October, and then following that with a report intended to come in November that'll talk about the funding, so that council has an opportunity before putting together the draft long-term plan what that funding might look like. But again, we need to start consulting with the community, and our first engagement is going to be Points Road on Thursday night this week. So again, it's setting us in a direction to start that consultation. Now, there were also, just when we were socialising this with the councils and the council and community boards, there were some requests for extra scope, and examples of that are putting water mains in out to Lowburn, Lee and Fernside potentially as part of the work. Those have yet to be all investigated, and we will investigate those and bring them back to council. But it is important to note that what we're submitting to the government does not include funding for those projects. So all the projects that we've got will use up the entirety of that funding, and so just want to be really clear about that. So in terms of the next steps, we'll be preparing consultation material, and there's quite a lot to be done in that space. So we're working with quite a number of communities across the district on these projects. We're already very busy with the design, and we'll be progressing the detailed design. And as I talked about earlier, we'll be working to bring a funding report to you, so you can consider that ahead of the draft LTP. Probably the other thing, and just to remind you, we have been on a fast track since the word go on this, and we will continue to do so right until the completion of these physical works on these projects. We've got tight deadlines to meet. The first one we've got is having this signed off and submitted by the end of the month, but then we've got to get the design complete, get the contracts out to tender, construction underway, and get them complete within the timeframes required by the government. So look, I don't think I need to add any more at this stage, but we've got Colin and I here to answer questions, and also got Kelly and Gavin available as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cleary. First question, I've got Councillor Williams, followed by Councillor Doody.
Hi. In note H, it's got for the Fernside scheme will help make contributions of 0.53 million, 530,000. And I understood there was going to be some consultation with them about how that was going to be funded. And then I read there a bit further, and it says, but there is to be ensuring there is no increase to their sewer rates. So what's the point of having consultation when it's written here there's going to be no? Is that forever, or is there a cut-off date for the way it's reading there? It says ensuring there's no increase to their sewer rates, full stop. Can that be explained a wee bit, please?
Yes, so that is a note, so you're not giving approval for that to happen. It's more noting that is how the sum of value of work that we can do has been made to add up. So we've calculated a Fernside contribution on the basis that they would pay a share of their project, and we've looked at that from the point of view, if they pay the Eastern District's rate plus they pay a contribution up to an amount that their wastewater rates would stay the same, that's the size of contribution that they would make, and it seems like a sensible starting point, because it's proportional to the amount of work that we would do on the converting private wastewater system. So it's not committing us to that exact amount, and we might consult with them, and that might come up or down a bit depending on how that goes. But it's a starting point to for consultation. That's the sort of figure that makes the total value of projects add up. So it's definitely not a commitment at this stage. What would happen is we would consult, something would go in the draft long-term plan, and then people could submit on it, and then that the size of that contribution could come up or down depending on that process.
So the question is, why consult when originally there was going to have a big massive jumps in the sewer rates, and this is why we've done this, and all of a sudden it cannot be any greater than what they're paying now. So what's the point of spending a lot of money on consultation?
I think we haven't actively consulted with Fernside on what we were proposing, so we need to talk to them about it. It doesn't mean we have to. Council could decide that they should make an even greater contribution if that's what is decided, but it's definitely not committing us to that either way. We just need a starting point to start the conversation, to say that we've got this proposal based on a scheme contribution of this much and government of this much. Your wastewater rates will stay the same, and then we could present other options of greater or lesser than that to council as well. So I think it's good that I think what you're saying is it's a no-brainer from the Fernside scheme members' point of view, and hopefully they can see it that way as well. But we still need to talk to them about it.
Yeah, so that no increase in their sewer rate, is that forever?
It's just an indication, but yes, the way it's been set up is they pay off a loan. So if you're paying off a loan, then that is quite a well-defined value, and then they would pay the Eastern District's rate on top of that.
Like
So-
in 100 years' time, they'll never pay any more than what they're paying today. That's the way it reads.
Okay. Yeah. I think I take your point. We'd never make a guarantee someone's rate would never change. So we'll be careful in the way we word that when we communicate with them.
And one other question on J. Hang on, sorry, not J. It is in the I, JHI, K and L, sorry. For the Tuahiwi Water Project, for the pressure pump side of cost of things, if we supply them with pressure pumps and they take ownership of them eventually, will there be an undertaking there that when they take ownership of it, they will do the maintenance on those pumps themselves, or are we going to be stuck with that, doing the maintenance and replacing those pumps when they're due for replacement?
Yeah.
So certainly the intent is that will be the case. So currently they own the septic tanks that these are replacing, and it would be the intent that that is their private asset, as is the case for pressure pumps throughout the district, including the likes of Pegasus and Beach Grove. So this would fall into that same category and be a similar circumstance to what they currently have.
So there'll be written contract, because at the moment we're still maintaining some of those pumps there at our council's cost, even though they own them.
Perhaps just to help Councillor Williams, at the end of the notes it says, but that final decisions regarding funding will be covered by a later report. My assumption was that that would be picked up in that further report. Perhaps staff could comment on that.
Yes, so that is a good question. So the further report will talk about funding, and we also have yet to consult with these communities. So this is the intent of how we propose to commence that consultation. But as with any consultation with the public, the council will go into staff will sort of taking direction from elected members, seeking feedback from the public, and a final position will be eventually achieved, and that'll take into consideration that community feedback, as well as the council's decision regarding funding, which is yet to. So this doesn't lock in or commit the council to either of those decisions. It's just at this point it does, but it does lock in this as one of the projects.
Further questions? Councillor Doody?
Just looking at the amount of work that you've got to do, have you got, and you said you've got some contractors already ready to go. For all of this, have you got contractors lined up that you're going to tap on the shoulder for later, or how are you going to manage this huge workload?
Okay, yeah, that's... So in terms of, firstly, in terms of managing the workload, we are actually going to deliver the majority of this work that's in the stimulus projects in-house. So we have made a commitment to in our current work program to divert project delivery unit resources on to make this happen. A lot of the designs already, as I said, been underway already. So we've got quite a lot of control over that. We have already set up the team and brought people on board. So we've got Rob Kerr as the overall program manager, and we've engaged some consultants into that team, as well as project delivery unit staff. We've got administrative support coming on stream. So we've effectively built the capacity to deliver it from a project management, program management and professional services side. We will be putting a lot of pressure on the organisation with consultation, so that will have an impact on our communications team and across the board, even as far as the additional demand on human resources, and our finance section. So certainly do acknowledge that I'm sitting here saying yes, we can, but we are drawing a lot on the capacity of the organisation to do that. So in terms of the actual delivery of the work, some of these projects we can turn on some resource fairly easily, but they are generally the smaller parts. But there is a risk with this. We're going to have all of the councils around the country carrying out similar kind of projects, including those around Canterbury. So the sooner we can get on, the better. We do propose to package the work in a way that will allow the contractors who work in our district to be able to price and carry out this work. We would be using the intention is, for example, on the Points Road water main, to use the water unit as the lead contractor there. They'll need to bring in some specialist resources. So yeah, we're definitely thinking of all of those things. And actually, the sooner we can get these out to the market, the better placed we're going to be to not only secure the contractors, but to secure them at a good price as well.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following on from Councillor Doodie's question, the delivery of our capital works program that we endorsed before the stimulus package came on board, when you said you were going to divert PDU resources, are we still to expect full delivery of our capital works program, which we didn't deliver
Sandra,
anyway?
could you speak more, into the speaker a bit more, because it's a bit hard to hear. Yeah.
I was trying to be reasonable.
Sorry, you're doing a good job, but just Adrian can't pick it up here.
Sorry.
Yeah, right.
I was just following on from Councillor Doodie's question that diverting our PDU resources to make the stimulus package reality, and we've already got a heavy capital works program which in previous years, even with Don Young on board to manage it, we have not been able to deliver it. So can you give me assurance that we're going to deliver the whole lot, or what's the situation?
I can give you assurance that we're planning to deliver the whole lot, but we're not. And I actually, I would just like to draw your attention to one example of a project that went to the Kaiapoi Community Board last night. That is one of the roading package of works, and there is a risk with that project, as an example, where community consultation and a requirement to get an agreement with the community to deliver the project is a risk. And we have so we've got a package of around about 10 projects in roading, valued at around about $10 million. Some of those are already underway. But some of them do have similar risks to the Paraki Street example. And so I can't give you assurance that we will deliver all of those because there will be circumstances that we can control to the best of our ability, but there will be some circumstances that do add a risk to the delivery of that program. One of the things we did do in response to COVID was we pushed out a lot of work. So from the current financial year that we're in, and to a large extent, this year's capital works program could have, prior to the stimulus work and the shovel ready work, was basically dominated by the roading capital works program, which we wanted to make sure we delivered to meet our commitment to NZTA, our co-funding partner, and also the indoor courts facility. So, and that project is well in hand and underway. We have scaled up to meet this capacity. We've just recruited 2 graduate engineers. One of those will be going straight into this shovel ready and stimulus team. As I said, we've got consultants in to help with it, and we've we have actually done recruitment as well to try and give us the capacity to deliver it. So we were starting from a much better position than we did last year in terms of having a more realistic program to deliver. But you're quite right to highlight it. There is a risk. This is really challenging to deliver such a big project. And the thing that I would see as the greatest risk is rather than necessarily capacity to do the design and the construction, it's the ability to get agreement with each community that this is what we're doing and get on with that work, and then work through a solution in the long-term plan to agree the funding arrangement for it.
Thank you.
One further question is, because the stimulus and shovel-ready package has a time constraint, if you're under pressure, are you going to deliver that and our internal capital works get second hit if in fact things start to get a bit frayed around the edges?
Short answer to that is yes. Yes, and that is the case. We are taking that approach with our road and capital works to an extent. And these these projects would take priority on resources. Although but we are in a position where we do believe we've got a type, but it is tight, but we do think we've matched the resources to the size of the project in front of us. I'll just give you the shovel ready. Effectively, the design work for that is going to be done by consultants because we just don't have the capacity in-house to deliver that. So sometimes it's more about where do we allocate the work to be done rather than necessarily whether we give one priority over the other. If we had a much longer time horizon, we might be able to do some of that more in-house. But rather, in this case, we've made a very early decision that we need to get those pump station pipeline designs carried out externally.
So, quarterly to audit and risk, or are you going to make it monthly to what, utilities and roading or audit and risk?
On this project?
We will be presenting a program to the council in terms of reporting. It will be we're effectively intending that we would be reporting to the council or the Utilities and Rating Committee every month. We're going to have Crown reporting requirements. In the case of Shovel Ready, that's actually a fortnightly report. So it's a big part of this, and we're expecting that we'll be giving you a steady stream of reporting, predominantly to the council, to the Utilities and Rating Committee, on these projects, and when it comes to the shovel ready, that would also include the Kaipoi Tuahiwi Community Board.
Thanks, Jared. Councillor Barnett?
Yes, thank you, Jared. You've mentioned that you've recruited engineers and obviously there was a drainways and waterways manager position in there. And you've also mentioned that consultation is probably one of the biggest risks in this project. With the fact that our comm staff are really stretched with long-term plan, district plan consultation, does this budget also include further employment of consultation and communication staff?
That's probably a Jim question.
We haven't got a specific allocation in this.
Would you like Jim to have a go?
Yeah, Jim.
Yeah.
So, short answer is yes. The project management of each of that program of work is going to need to include a provision for comms. That at the moment we're just recruiting for a role for comms and engagement, which has three elements to it: district plan, regeneration, and a starting resource. I say a starting resource for the additional 28 million of program of works that is sitting here, so that has a fixed term component. It's a 2-year fixed term role, and if we need to then go to more engagement or comms support, particularly for the shovel ready and stimulus package program of works, then we'll do that, and that will need to be funded from the project management component of this program of work.
Okay, I think we've had a good range of questions here, so I'm going to move from the chair 4.1 with a recommendation, seconded by Councillor Williams. Councillor Williams already indicated to me. Yeah, so seconded Councillor Williams. Just speaking to it, just to say I think our staff have done a superb job in this space. There's been some questions here today, but not probably from all of us because of all the homework you've done in advance of this. I want to say how proud I am of Jared, you and your team, Colin, Kelly and Gavin that are here. The extraordinary amount of work you've put in a short space of time to get us to a position where you've found a fair and equitable way of allocating this as best as you can, and the way in which you've led us through this period. Also want to acknowledge Jim as well. Some of you won't know, but Jim's been doing an extraordinary amount of work at a Canterbury Mayoral Forum level as well, unpicking all this and getting it to a point so we can understand it and get it into a framework that means as a Canterbury area we can consider broader options which are part of this exercise, which we're not getting into today necessarily, but you guys have done a fantastic job. You've thought of all the issues, you've brought in consultant leads and particularly someone to help in the project management of this, which I thought was really smart, trying to get ahead of it, because there is an enormous amount of work and we are going to have to be team really understanding of our staff and the level of work that we've got on their shoulders. We're buying into this as much as they're putting this work out for us. So when it comes to keeping to time frames and reporting and all the rest, there needs to be a level of understanding, because our community would not thank us for not accepting this. So I just want to put that on the record, that yes, we all want to make sure the reporting and standards are met as best as possible, but there has to be a degree of understanding if we're to achieve this and get this work undertaken. Looking forward to the engagement on Thursday with Points Road. Hopefully it's a more positive conversation than the last one, but I think you've done the best that you can to put forward a really good proposal for us here, so thank you on behalf of the council. Thank you very much. That was endorsed by the community boards last week, who also shared that view to you all. Councillor Williams.
Yeah, I think it's a great project, and it's good stimulus for the whole of Waimakariri, and I think we've just got to make sure we're economical the way we're doing things and think of the whole of the Waimakariri community while we're doing this funding, and just don't pick on certain targets in that area, and which could mean some of the rest of our community can miss out on a bit of stimulus. So it's a stimulus package which we're going to get some major things across the line, which normally would have been very, very hard, if near impossible, to get across the line. So we've got to be thinking of the whole of Waimakariri while we're doing it, and be quite economical and don't waste our stimulus package.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly endorse your comments about this very, very impressive piece of work, so congratulations to you all. And I just take the point that the Mayor has just said about understanding the extent of the work that we are all committing ourselves for. We need to know if it is not going well or as well as expected, and that is what I mean about reporting. It's to bring it back so that we do understand whether it's going well or and even more importantly, if it's not going well, because then we will need to be able to think about how things may be rejigged or whatever. So the reporting, to my mind, talks about all that, and we need to be right up to speed with the difficulties or the good things that you're achieving. So welcome the reporting. Thank you.
Further speakers? Councillor Barnett?
Yes, I'm really, really comfortable with the work that's been done on this project, and it's a huge opportunity for us to fix some of the historic issues that we've carried through in infrastructure, and it benefits residents, as other colleagues have mentioned, across our whole district. The risk that I mentioned about the consultation, which is obviously, it's really, really important that we have to bring the community along with us in what we're doing. We're going to need open, very transparent conversations to keep to our timelines and very, very clear messaging. So I would like to make sure that there is a lot of resource available in that space. We also need, as a council, to support our staff to keep an open mind if the situation changes, which it can do. But keep our goal in mind and take the opportunity, take this funding, which benefits our whole district.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Ward?
Thank you. Well done. And I know that you're going to get this through in the next couple of years and do it really, really well with the support of everyone, including us and the community boards, to make decisions in a timely fashion so that you can proceed and get the job done. One of the things I think when you're consulting with the likes of Points Road or Tuhiwi or wherever, I've always found that you can't please everybody all of the time. And so take into consideration that as long as you know that what we're doing is right, then just get on with the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doody?
Thank you. Yeah, just to reiterate, congratulations and well done for all the work you've put in, the whole lot of you, and that Jim included on this one. It's just such a huge task that you've been given to do, and you're going to be managing it by the look of it very well. And it'd be interesting to see how we go on Thursday night. That'll be our first teething opportunity, won't it? Thank you.
Further speakers? Okay, nothing to respond to, so I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thanks, team. All right. So item 5 is no longer required. So we now move to item 6 point. So firstly, we need to move to public excluded. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Blackie. We're now in public excluded. Can we just check that the live stream's off? Thank you.